Alright, this video shouldn't take very long. So, looking here, you see the formula sheet that hopefully by now you're very familiar with. Left-hand side mechanics, right-hand side electricity and magnetism. I know you get to use the formula sheet during the AP test, and that's fine. However, if you don't know what the equations are, and you don't know what all the variables stand for, then the formula sheet doesn't help that much. I'm still seeing students occasionally use V, and they don't know if V is velocity or voltage, and it's been misused recently. So that's an indicator that not everyone knows what every variable stands for. So what we're going to do, and obviously we won't do this until we get back, is we'll have a series of quizzes. Each quiz is only about 5 minutes, and each quiz is only 5 questions, maybe 6. And the idea behind that is that you'd be asked a series of 5 or 6 questions, and you would write down the equation that stands for, that would solve that problem. I am tempted to change the quiz and have you actually write down what each variable stands for. Let me think on that one. I may add that this year. But the idea would be that you'd know which 5 questions are coming up. So for example, you see over in the upper right-hand corner, you've got box 1. And you've got the electric force is equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught times QQ over R squared. Notice that is in absolute value. So that would be your force, the electric force between 2 charges at a distance of R between them. That 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught, that is K. But notice I don't have K there, they don't have K there, and on the quiz I wouldn't want a K. I'd want the 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. On the quiz, if a student put a K there, they'd lose a point. Each question's only worth 2 points, so it'd be half credit for getting the idea, but not the equation I'm looking for. And it makes a difference, because if you're doing something with a dielectric, then you've got to know you've got that 4 pi epsilon naught there, because the dielectric constant kappa would go with the epsilon naught. So I am looking for very much rote memorization of these formulas. And even though you get a formula sheet, it's faster if you know them, and you're more likely to use the right one if you know what each equation stands for. So you go on the list and you'd know that, hey, on this day, tomorrow, we're going to test these 5 questions. So you'd study them, you'd cram them in your memory. Those who are not doing it properly will stand outside the room before the bell rings, looking at the formula sheet, trying to cram those 5 in. That's a horrible procedure, and it doesn't work. So look at them the day before, make sure you know what those 5 are. And like I said, knowing what the variables stand for, I may be adding that. So you got your second day, you've got your voltage equation, the potential energy of a charge moving through a voltage. Remember, that's going to be different from the energy of a capacitor, which is way down here. So there's your 1/2 QV, there's your QV. We talked about those being confused for each other sometimes. And the idea would be over the course of 2.5 weeks, hopefully we'll have 2.5 weeks before we get back, or after we get back from this break and before the AP test, that you would do 1 a day and do these quizzes. Any day you'd miss because you were out of the classroom, the next day you'd come in and you would do 2, just to try and get you caught back up again. You would never do 3. So if you missed 5 days in a row, you would make up for them 2 at a time. We get down to the 6th day, and you've got the last E&M one. Day 7, we'd start back up in mechanics. We do E&M first because it's more recent. We played with those more recently. So that is the idea. Sample question I do not have here, but a sample question might be, for example, hey, give me a formula that lets you solve for the acceleration of an object knowing its force and mass. Obviously, you're right, F equals ma. And obviously, you'd be wrong. So the actual equation that I would want would be, let's see, gotta find it. We know it's on the formula sheet somewhere, right? And come on, it's gotta be there. You guys have already found it, and you're saying, hey, Mr. Medic, it's right there, man. You're missing it, man. You're missing it. So, there it is. 4th line from the top. But F equals ma would be wrong, because we want the sum of the forces over mass, or F net. So, yes, I'll be looking for specifics like that, because it's not just F. It's a bunch of forces. those kind of subtleties. You know, the minus sign over here on your delta V equals the negative integral of E dr. The fact that it's a dot products versus cross products. All those subtle little tiny variations are the important aspects that we're looking for here. So don't write this off as, oh, it's going to be an easy 12 points or 10 points every quiz. Very few students get every quiz, every question right, because there are a lot of little subtle details that if you don't pay attention to them, you miss them. So that's the plan. This is the sheet. There's a copy of this over in the resources. I will probably post a link to that as well. And just be ready for those when we get back. I won't have you do one the first day, but depending on the timing, you might hit day 2 and start doing these. And if we're tight on time, after that, we might start doing more than one a day. It really depends on when we come back. So be aware, this is something you're going to need to be able to do at some point shortly after our return. Again, if you have any questions, guys, email me. More than happy to work with you on this. And keep track of these files. Don't forget to log in for your attendance, and we will talk to you later.